At a key point last night, Tennessee started driving. Nico completed 3 straight passes for back-to-back first downs, and then sack, followed by another sack, followed by another sack, which at some point you're playing like Elon out there. I mean, that's like Maryville College stuff, going against a big boy and you get hit with 3 straight sacks. John Campbell by himself last night had 3 penalties for 35 yards, and one of them canceled out a Nico scramble for a first down. A few plays later, Lance Hurd wiped out another Nico first down run with a hold. And on Dylan Sampson's second touchdown run, Hurd just fell forward and touched no one. He did get up to celebrate, though, after they got in the end zone. Are these guys – Kevin mentioned the fact they missed time in the offseason. Hurd has missed time during the season. There may be injury concerns. Tennessee won't tell you. So are we supposed to sit here and just be nice about everybody? I mean, for all we know, Nico's got an injury. I mean, so we got to figure out if we're going to be harsh guys that break down game based on what we saw and the money they're being paid, or whether or not we're nice because somebody could be banged up. I don't know if they're banged up or not, so I'm just going to grade them as though they're not. And what I'm seeing, I would start from scratch. And I had a couple of VFL offensive linemen text me yesterday and say the same thing. I would start trying to find new combinations to see if you can find a spark. And for me, Dane Davis could go in for either one of them.
I don't think you watch the tape and you just say this is not SEC level performance at offensive line, right? Like this is not – you can't take this and go win a lot of games with this performance that we're getting from both those tackles. I mean – that is the tape. Like you said, is it injury? Is it this? Is it that? I just know what's not working on the field is not to an SEC level of competitive football. Right now, it is losing football to have both those guys out. Unfortunately, you'd hope that one would be okay and the other would be the weakness and we'd be just trying to work on one. Yeah. But it looks like right now, if you just take them, you look at both of them, if I'm the defensive end, so I'll just look at it from this way. If I am a defensive end going up against this team, I am salivating. Because I know I will get at least 5 shots on the quarterback. So let's say, hopefully I can get 2 sacks at least of those 5 shots. But against this group, I'm not having to change up or think about any big thing. I've watched enough tape on these guys to know, listen, I'm rushing upfield. He's going to overset after I beat him up the field once. I'm going to come under. I got it. And so when I look at this, it's just not a very good offensive line. This is more one of those teams you play in the off week that you're going to beat by 40, this is what their offensive line looks like.
Daniel, you played offensive line for a couple of years before moving to the defensive line. How tough is it to try and fix an offensive line on the fly?
Well, I played on a lot of bad offensive lines too, and didn't even get it. And I
so you can relate to this.
And I couldn't even crack the starting lineup on those, right? But, and I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, I remember Juwan James coming in, who ended up playing really well, but he was really bad as a freshman. But these are older guys, and the only thing you can really do to fix it is to take him out of the picture, which they were talking about rolling the pocket to where it just eliminates half the line. That also eliminates half your field. But I think at this time, and I was talking to Jimmy off air about it, is you've only had 2 guys that have went to the NFL on the offensive line over the last 4 years, both of which were not recruited by this group. You have to start looking at who is evaluating talent, who you're bringing in for those things. And if you're confident in your coach that's coaching it, do you have a secondary changeover like you did with the secondary this past year because you knew Martinez was a good coach? There's some questions that you got to answer because you can't win long-term having an offensive line playing like this.
Jimmy, go ahead.
2 things I don't understand. One, I don't understand why Tennessee can develop defensive linemen and not offensive linemen. What happens to these 4 stars offensive linemen that they bring in that don't play at a high level? Now I think Cooper Mays is really good, and I think Spraggins is good. But what about all these other guys that you brought in? The other thing is this. I talked to a guy that was on the Miami staff who said John Campbell is a very talented player. He's going to help Tennessee a lot. I talked to a former Tennessee offensive lineman yesterday. He said, I saw Lance Hurd at LSU. He was a hell of a player at LSU. I don't know what's happened to him. I don't either.
Is that injury? Is that bad coaching?
I will say at LSU, they have Harry Heastan as offensive line coach, who is the one who developed Juwan James, Zach Fulton, James Stone, Anthony Richardson, who all played in the NFL from here.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So this is tracing back to Ellerby. I was just going to say the question I had for you, is it a concern that we're sitting here looking at where the problems are? They're not doing anything to change them. Does that tell you, our thought coming into the season was, boy, they don't have any depth. Is the front five going to be okay? Because if somebody gets hurt, we don't know what you got back there. The fact that they aren't making these moves suggests they know they don't have other options.
That's where it becomes, in my opinion, unless it's injury related, it's not fixable. I don't know how you fix it. Unless you've got guys that have sprained MCLs and we're not knowing about that, and that's impeding their mobility and their ability to block.
We talked the first couple of years, this offensive line, and now the system masked the offensive line.
yeah.
Well, that's the tempo, and you can't run tempo right now.
Yes.
You're not living in tempo.
And why are you not running tempo? See, that's another
Can
question.
the tackles
too.
not do it?
Are they not
or
good enough
Is
shape?
the quarterback not picking it up quick enough?
Yeah.
I don't know. All
Mystery.
right. Mystery. When we come back, rapid fire questions. I put these in here because it helps us catch up on all the times we go over. So rapid fire questions next. A Heupel decision in overtime. The defense without Keenan Peely. SEC disappointments. Much more to come on the Sports Source. Come on back.